In the early days of the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi and his men were deployed to Ryloth after the horrid separatist invasion of the planet, where they were tasked with freeing the local Twi'Lek population from the firm grip of the Confederacy. Once there, however, a pair of clone troopers named Waxa and Boyle came across a young Twi'Lek girl named Numa who had lost her parents in the invasion. So I'm going to break down the story of what happened to Numa and her parents just before the separatists invaded Ryloth and caused immeasurable pain to the Twi'Lek citizens. Before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button for more awesome Star Wars lore content. So, the story begins a short while before the invasion of Ryloth and the Innocence of Ryloth Clone Wars episode where Kenobi and his men land on the planet. Before the arrival of the separatists, Ryloth is in a time of peace and is a very peaceful land. Twi'Lek children of every colour are able to play in the streets without a care in the world. The markets of Ryloth are booming, and the Twi'leks are able to live very happy lives. On one warm Ryloth morning, Numa begins to play and run around the streets of the main market area of Nubat. Numa is having the time of her life with her red Twi'lek friend, but she begins to run pretty far away from her mother, who warns her to stay within her vision and not to travel too far away. As Numa moves just a little bit too far away from her mother, she shouts out to tell her that her green friend Lubo has found a small gut-cur chick. A really tiny one. And you'll definitely remember these ferocious creatures from the Clone Wars episode where Obi-Wan Kenobi is forced to tame them using the rare force ability known as Animal Bond. So far in canon, we've seen Anakin use the ability at the first battle of Geonosis to tame a ravenous reek in the arena, Obi-Wan of course on Ryloth, and later Ezra Bridger who tamed the Fernok creatures at Fort Anaxis in Star Wars Rebels. Ezra actually channeled the dark side when he initially used this ability, leaving him tired and drained, although he was later able to master the ability and channel the light side instead when using it, just like Obi-Wan did. Following this, Numa's mother calls out to her daughter, warning her not to touch the creature, but she is very quickly cut off by her friend Tronda, who writhes in pain and senses that a storm is coming. Numa's mother responds to her friend by saying, "The skies are clear, Tronda," wondering how a storm could possibly be coming in these beautiful conditions. Tronda, however, is still firmly confident that she is correct, pushing back on Numa's mother saying, "So say your eyes, my bones say different." I don't know about you guys, but I have a small feeling that Tronda may actually be force sensitive, at least very slightly. Tell me down in the comments if you think that this Twi'Lek could be force sensitive. After this, Numa returns home with her mother and father, and begins to colour and relax, while her parents discuss Tronda's prediction about the incoming storm. Numa's mother tells her father that her day was pretty much the same as all the others, but that Tronda says a massive storm is coming which will bring evil to Ryloth. The father also brushes off Tronda's visions by saying, "Tronda, always seeing things." Although she doesn't believe it, Numa's mother does begin to become slightly cautious and asks the father to clear the shelter just in case. And you'll know if you've seen the Clone Wars episode that this decision right here just saved the life of their daughter Numa without them even realizing it. As Numa's father begins to clear the shelter and prepare it for the ravaging storm which is supposedly on its way, he notices a soft toy down there and scolds Numa for descending down into the dark, reinforced area without supervision, saying, "I think someone's been in the shelter, someone who is not allowed to be here alone. Numa, come here." This of course is the same Tuka doll that Numa has hidden in the Clone Wars episode. Numa sheepishly responds to her father, and he firmly asks how the toy got into the shelter. Again, Numa doesn't want to answer the question, so she lies to her father, saying that Tuka followed a bright eye down into the dark shelter to play. In response to this, Numa's father says, "Don't fib, Numa. We've told you before that we don't want you to play in the shelter tunnels alone. You could get lost." Following this, Numa goes to sleep in her hammock and is awoken in the early hours of the morning by the sound of an invasive separatist probe droid shining its bright red eye on her face. She rubs her eyes because of the bright, shining light, and tragically, she will never see her parents again. They have been savagely captured by Wat Tambor's separatist forces, with their fates already decided. Numa then chases the separatist probe droid through the cold, rocky halls of her house, before clutching her head in pain from a sound above her. Numa then continues to follow the probe droid up the nearby ladder onto the streets above, where she sees the most tragic view of her life. Her home has been invaded, and her fellow Twi'Lek people are being enslaved by the separatist droid army. B-1 battle droids march the Twi'Lek prisoners forward with their hands behind their leku, knowing that their home has been taken right from them, without knowing if they will ever be able to take it back. Only one Twi'Lek was able to see this invasion coming, but she was not able to stop it. Numa then screams out for her mother and father, but her screams travel only into the void without a response. Sadness overcomes Numa as she calls for her Tuka doll for one final time before looking out over her planet to the site of war and invasion. Unfortunately, her parents were taken and executed by the separatists for unknown reasons. I'd say there's a pretty good chance they were executed for putting up a fight and attempting to protect their daughter from the incoming droid forces. Maybe their final stand was directly in front of their home, and they were able to kill the droid forces who were about to raid their home with their sleeping daughter inside, and were executed for their heroic actions, all while Numa slept. After this, of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi's 2/12th arrive on Ryloth, and the two troopers, Waxer and Boyle, are sent on a recon mission to Nubat, where they hear a strange noise. After investigating the noise, they very quickly discover Numa hiding. Numa was very scared of the two clone troopers at first, thinking they were both droids because of their very similar helmets and body armor, but not long after, she became very friendly with them. Soon after this, Numa returned to her home with Waxer and Boyle, where she was overcome with horrible pain and grief, remembering the last time she was there being the location where she realized her parents had been killed. Thankfully, Waxer and Boyle were able to comfort her by handing her back the Tuka doll, which we just saw in the comic, that she left in her home before emerging up to the surface. And for those of you who haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, Numa actually went on to join the Ryloth rebel movement known as the Free Ryloth movement, which was led by Hera Syndulla's dad, Cham Syndulla. During the Imperial era, she fought for freedom against Imperial control with Hera's father, and throughout her time fighting, she wore a piece of armoured plating from a trooper of the 2/12th. This trooper was Boyle. This is an awesome throwback to the Clone Wars and shows just how grateful the Twi'Lek people still are for the 2/12th's actions to liberate Ryloth from the separatists even all these years later. This event is such a major part of Ryloth and Twi'Lek history that even Cham Syndulla himself wears an arm guard from a fallen 2/12th soldier left on the battlefield during the Battle of Ryloth. At first, Numa wasn't on the best terms with the crew of the Ghost because she and Hera's father had slightly more extreme ideas, including destroying a ship over the atmosphere of Ryloth as a show of strength for the rebellion, and even used a stun weapon on Hera, Sabine, Ezra, and the other rebels on the orders of Cham Syndulla. Eventually, however, she and Cham Syndulla were back on good terms with Hera and her crew, helping to recover her Twi'Lek Kalikori, which was a very highly valued Twi'Lek heirloom that was passed from parent to child through generations. According to Twi'Lek tradition, each part of the family added a piece of original artwork to the Kalikori to ingrain themselves in the family legacy. Obviously, this held no value to outsiders, but to Twi'Lek families, and especially Hera and Numa, who had both lost parents, it was incredibly valued. So that is what happened to Numa's parents before the events of the Battle of Ryloth, and before Waxer and Boyle were able to save the young Twi'Lek girl from the onslaught of the separatists. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed it. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.